Right.
See how family do. She want me to call her by her government name, but she wanted to quit the job.
Right.
Okay. Did it send you a request real quickly?
Huh?
Did it send you a request for me to go ahead and record as well?
Oh, I didn't see it.
See, once I record it, I can still upload it to live on Facebook.
It says it's now streaming live on YouTube. Is that you streaming or is it me streaming?
You.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it says it's live on YouTube, so hey. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Colloquies with Michelle. Today we are with, again, Drs. Joseph Fowler and Dr. Brandon Williams with a Line for Life, chiropractic, medical therapy, and nutrition. And today we are so happy to have Miss Towauna Watson with us. And she is a Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer survivor. So we're going to have a really good conversation, a great colloquy with all of us today around the lymphatic system and cancer. Doctors William and Dr. Fowler are unfortunately unable to show their faces. So we're just going to hear their voices and just kind of have a good conversation. So doctors, how are y'all doing today?
We are doing well this fine evening. How are you, Ms. Simmons?
Doing good.
All is going good. Miss Watson, how are you doing?
Excellent.
Good. I'm so happy that we're all here together. Yay. Good stuff. And so basically, so we're talking about the lymphatic system and cancer. So doctors, people with cancer, do they see a chiropractor, right? Can you kind of talk to us and explain to us what cancer is? Because we hear about it all the time, but like, what is it? Where does it come from?
Cancer is many things. There are many different types of cancers, but cancer is a thing. It's a neoplasm. It's a tumor. It's something that is not native to the body. Therefore, that makes it foreign. It is a disease process that can, formulate from many different things, whether it be environment, may it be, biochemical from, the foods or the drugs or anything that we intake into our body. It could be family history, so it could be hereditary. So there are there are many different processes that can cause cancer per se.
Right.
When you mention that, it makes me think about stress. Mm-hmm. Can cancer form, or can stress be a factor in in cancer forming in a person's body?
Absolutely. Because there's many different processes that can form cancer. Mm-hmm. But to your point, there's also many different processes that can cause it to proliferate or to grow. Wow. So cancer is a parasite. It needs the proper environment in order to survive and thrive. So when we talk about certain foods that we eat, mm-hmm. Whether they be fatty foods, sugary foods, foods that have a lot of hormones like red meats, things like that, processed foods, junk foods, or we talk about stress that causes the increase of things like cortisol in the body that can all be fuel to this cancer. So again, it's both and, stress is one of those things that can cause it, indirectly, directly, but can also fuel it as well.
And so what we're talking about again is the environment, the environment from within. There had to be a proper environment for each one of us to be here because we're just a conglomerate of cells. The environment had to be right for the sperm to get with the egg, and here we are. And so basically cancer is where you have abnormal cells that are basically dividing and taking over the body.
All right. That is a whole conversation that you brought up when you talked about the environment that creates and causes cancer to form and to progress. That literally is another show. But we're also talking about lymphoma. Can you tell us what lymphoma is and if there's a difference between lymphoma as opposed to cancer. Can you kind of delve into that for us?
Well, lymphoma is a cancer, all right? It is a cancer of the lymphatic system. Now, first of all, the lymphatic system is the sewage system of the body, okay? So we all know just in general when we're talking about our houses or office building or something, we know what sewage system is when we're talking about the city or the county and all that. And so that's where all the waste goes, all right? And so the lymphatic system collects all of the toxins, the waste, any other unwanted or unneeded material of the body. And what can happen is if the proper environment is set up, this waste is not readily getting rid of out of the body, and it can set up the environment to produce a lymphoma, which can further be broken down into Hodgkin's lymphoma or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Okay. And did I miss it? What's the difference between Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's?
So the big difference is Hodgkin's has a particular cell, Reed-Sternberg cell, that the scientist or doctor or whoever is looking at the blood that they're looking for. If the Reed-Sternberg cells are present, then this is identified as Hodgkin's lymphoma. Non-Hodgkin's does not have or do not have this particular cell.
All right. So, Ms. Towauna, this brings you into it. Can you kind of explain to us your situation? Like, how did you find out that you had Hodgkin's lymphoma?
Well, long story short, short story long. As a person that's always been physically fit, active, military, it was just that at one point I was not able to breathe. I noticed that my running had become more labored, where you know, when you get your second wind with running, you get that little extra boost of energy. So my 5 mile, instead of only taking me probably about, 30, 40 minutes or whatever, it was taking me far longer to get the same distance done. And I would have some discomfort with it. And when I went to go seek professional help about what I was experiencing, because my family history has shown asthma and some other things, well, I was placed on medication, so that definitive diagnosis became, asthmatic related because the pulmonary system, what I was feeling, and my body responded to the therapy. So there we have it. So, but in December is when the tumor had grown so much in size that it was excruciating painful for me to breathe. I'd just rather not have breathed at all because it was just that much of pain. And so I was given a shot. I can't remember what kind of shot it was, but anyway, it opened it up where the pain just was reduced quite a bit. And then I was sent over for a CT scan that had revealed the tumor.
Wow. So the progression of it caused you to go back and seek further help in regards to it. And so from the CT scan is how it was revealed to you that it was actually a lymphomic.
No.
Okay, so what happened after that?
What happened after that was they did send me to oncology because of my lifestyle, and it was checked off the list first. I went there first, it was checked off the list, so I was sent to a pulmonologist, and there were 3 or 4 different conditions or disease that was in the differential diagnosis. So they were checking me for sarcoidosis and some other conditions that are related to the respiratory system. Well, when we did some more testing, the pulmonologist said, no, you have to go back to oncology because we believe that it is something else. And so when I went and I took the scan again, the girl said, at least we caught it early. And I'm like, okay, like, what are we catching early? But she wouldn't tell me. So she's like, my doctor would tell me. I'm like arguing with her. No, when you said it, you tell me what you're seeing. But of course, she couldn't say
Right.
anymore. Well, she shouldn't have said that part anyway. But however, from that point, I had a battery of tests to really confirm it. But it wasn't until I had the mediastinoscopy where a cardiothoracic surgeon goes in. He removed several lymph nodes, and all of them did have the Reed-Sternberg cell. That was my diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Wow.
Yeah.
What I find interesting is that it seems like you had like the lifestyle, like you did everything right. You exercised. How was your diet?
My diet was still really good. But there was, at that time, I ate red meat, and then there were still sugary things in there. So I still, you know, I still had those things that were in my diet. But environment, being in the military, don't know a lot of things that I was exposed to, but not until later did I find out that someone on my father's side had the same type of cancer. So is DNA part of it? It could be. We just couldn't explain it back then because I didn't fit the profile. I didn't have the, what they call, were there 5 behavioral risks. I didn't fall in that category. So it was a long process. It was almost a year, about 10 months from this first sign before they came up with a definitive diagnosis that it was Hodgkin's lymphoma.
So basically you learned through this is how to be an advocate for yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So something with like, right, so they said, this is what's going on, and they started treating you, and it's kind of like a surface level, what it sounds like they were treating you for asthma. But as you could continue to just go on and progress, and at least say, you know what, something's not right. So you went to another doctor.
Yes. Yep.
So basically we're learning. Go ahead.
I did. I went to I got second opinions for almost everything, diagnosis. And also I learned in my research and being my best advocate where I needed to find out what labs they were sending my information off to, because I didn't want a duplicate. I wanted the most organic, original diagnosis from someone else, some different eyes. And when they came back the same results, then it was like, okay, it's you know, this is definitive. And being a part of the radiologist looking at my images and showing me the tumor that was in between the heart-lung area where it's an inoperable zone, because that was the first thing I wanted to know, could they just remove it? But they said that was an inoperable zone, and just that it was in so many different areas of my body. So just being an advocate and having to talk to them and say, hey, listen, this is what I'm reading, this is what I'm understanding, and to further understand what was happening in what had happened in my body, where it was now, and what do I need to go forward. So I learned to be my best advocate though.
Wow. Drs. Williams and Dr. Fowler, can y'all chime in and kind of explain to us what the lymphatic system is, what it does, and how chiropractic care kind of ties into that?
Okay. So again, the lymphatic system is, as I said, is the sewage system of the body. And what it does, it has a big importance because a lot of your immune system is supplied through the lymphatic system. You have your white blood cells, which is your army that fights off the different viruses, other illnesses that we have. And so again, the organs, let's just say, of the lymphatic system include, which is what was being kind of alluded to, the thymus, which sits near and behind the heart, as well as bone marrow, tonsils are a part of it. Lymph nodes were mentioned as well. The spleen is a part of it. So it is a vast system because it stretches the entire body. And so as chiropractors, we take care of the nervous system. Your nervous system runs your entire body. So the nervous system is tied directly to the lymphatic system. And we talked earlier about the proper environment. Again, in order for the body or the central nervous system to communicate properly to the body, the correct environment has to be set up. And so that's where we come in, because we are clearing or sanitizing the nervous system by clearing the interferences, which are being caused through misalignments, not just in the spine. People often think of misalignments and chiropractors just dealing with the spine, but you can have a misalignment in your extremities, the shoulder, the ankle, your toes, again. And so whenever there's a misalignment, then there's soft tissue also involved, because soft tissue such as ligaments, tendons, are attached to the muscles, are attached to the bones. And when their bones move, these soft tissue elements move as well. And so they can cause dysfunction, as well as pain in some instances. And so it can throw the nervous system off, which is trying to communicate to the body at all times, but also it can and does throw off the other vascular systems, which again, we're talking blood as well as now we're including the lymphatic system.
What stage, Towauna, were you in when you received your diagnosis?
Stage 3. It wasn't as early as it should have been, or that we thought it was. I don't think in 10 months I went from a 0 to 3. I just believe that, with the initial definitive diagnosis to say, okay, this is more the asthma of it, what they thought, and my body responded. And so for a minute I thought so as well, but it was something different that I could feel that was going on with my body. And what I understand is my hair, skin, and nails are going to do what's going on in the blood. And another crazy sign was the thinning of my hair and some other weird things that were coming into play that says, hey, something else is wrong. And so, just taking all these things and journaling what was going on from when I thought, hey, okay, I need to pay a little bit more attention. Yeah.
Right. Doctors Williams and Dr. Fowler, she mentioned some symptoms that she experienced. Are there any other symptoms that other people may, when it comes to the lymphatic system, that we should be aware of when it comes to just being aware of something, of irregularity in our body, or even recognizing that it may be cancer?
That's a good question, Ms. Simmons, and I'm glad you brought that up. And part of the dilemma that we as a healthcare profession and as a society face when it comes to cancer in particular is that a lot of the symptoms of cancer mimic the symptoms of so many other ailments. And a lot of the symptoms are common. It could be headache. It could be tiredness or, malaise. You may just be tired, you may have a loss of appetite, so those could be symptoms of anything, and to Ms. Watson's point, that's, could be part of the reason why, it was found later than, initially thought, is because one, typically by the time a patient becomes symptomatic, to the point where, your brain is telling you, something is wrong. We need to investigate. We need to find out what's going on, because this is more than just a headache, or this is more than just fatigue. There's something else going on here. At that point, and more often than not, we're at a stage 3 or 4, unfortunately. But again, I always tell my patients, your body better than anyone else. Right. So better than I or any other provider to say, something is not right, or this is not my norm, because you wake up in your body every day. So better than anyone what feels right to you and what feels off. And at that point, that's when we'll take the necessary battery of tests. We'll do blood work, we'll do imaging to figure out what's going on there. But unfortunately, if it's just a headache, or if it's just, shortness of breath, or if it's just loss of appetite, a lot of times it may get misdiagnosed until providers tend to dig a little further and a bit deeper and to figure out exactly what's going on.
Right. And in addition to that, again, like Dr. Williams was saying, just some common symptoms like bloating, a lot of people talk about feeling bloated, having cold hands and feet. Again, another just common symptom for other ailments, but that is what can be missed if it is not, if the person, the physician does not dig deeper.
Wonderful. So, Towauna, what was your treatment plan?
Treatment plan. It was really interesting. After the official diagnosis of it and the staging of it, then there was, we started off with possibly 3 months. We were hoping that my body would respond to it. However, I ended up maxing out on chemo. So I took 4 drugs, ABVD, adriamycin, bleomycin, deoxyrubin, and the other one, I can't think of the other one right now, but it was for ABVD. I took, and I ended up maxing out on it, so of 6 months. And my body was having a lot of issues even after the 6 months. So I was given like a rest period, and then I had to start right back into radiation. That was my only thing left that was going to treat the cancer cell that was still in the mediastinum area. And so after finishing the radiation, they just said that they were going to watch it, because in watching it, I had maxed out on what medicine could do for me at that point. So 6 months of chemo, and then going into the radiation. They just said, we'll have to watch it and make sure that nothing else comes of it. But after about 9.5 months of treatment, they were not able to give me anything else. So there was more research and digging for me. So I did take a few PET CT scans that checks the cancer's activity. And from there, things were not getting worse. But, after a while, I'm like, I'm not doing this. And so when I decided to take my next scan, probably 6 months later, it was, I don't know how, but of course, this is what it is. They just told me I'll never have a bad day, that they couldn't see any cancerous cell. The tumor was gone. However, the lymphoma had left scar tissue in plenty of places. So they could see, radiographically from those images where the lymphoma had left scars. So.
Wow. And what's the impact of those scars in your body today? Is there?
Oh, it is. And I don't know sometimes if you can hear me talking, because part of my lungs doesn't work. I don't know what percentage it is. I know I was told, but I don't remember. But there is times that I have that kind of pause in my speech, and it's because the lungs have that little set. I don't know why. I mean, well, I do know why, because the lymphoma and the treatment to get rid of the lymphoma has left those scars. The body is a little different in so many different ways that I did make a lot of adjustments, definitely in the food items that they gave me. And I'm looking at all these things in this booklet of do not during treatment, but you can resume afterwards. I'm like, well, I started doing more research and saying, well, why would I return back to eating, especially these things, red meat, pork, all these fried foods, but more importantly, things that I seen was tilting my body from a alkaline state to more going into the acidic, where all the disease will take root. So acidic environment, learning where the body is naturally at 7.4, and knowing that what I did on a daily basis was going to tilt the scale to either the right or the left. And I have no intentions on ever doing that one again. So I switched to some juicing and eating more of my vegetables and my intake of water and less dairy and all those different things, so that I'm giving my body the best fuel so that I can stay out of the disharmony or disease.
That's good. Dis-ease. Out of harmony. I like that. Yeah, absolutely.
And
Y'all expound on that, kind of jump in.
Yeah, I just want to speak to that because, you know, it is about dis-ease. You know, if we really break the word down to what it really means, ease means normal. Ease is a state of normal, right?
Yeah.
Dis-ease is when things are not normal. So when we talk about disease, we're saying that something is not normal, right? You know, our bodies are accustomed to operating in a state of normal. We call it homeostasis, right? That is a state of normal. But when things become abnormal, that means there is a dis-ease process going on in the body. But I also want to talk about a couple of different things that Ms. Watson mentioned, you know, that she was going through her treatment. You know, they talked about nutrition and things not to eat while going through the treatment. But if you really think about it, these are things that have nothing to do with the treatment. These are things and tips and recommendations that we as human beings should be getting throughout life. And unfortunately, with the sick care system that we have in this country,
Sick care.
Sick care.
Right?
Sick care, right?
We have to understand that is true.
Right.
Yes.
Because of the sick care system that we have, much of this information isn't given to us until we're in this sickened state.
Right.
You know, when we talk about limiting red meat, when we talk about limiting fast food, sugary foods, caffeine, junk food, exercising, proper rest, proper chiropractic care. Let's go ahead and throw that in there.
But they don't preach that though, Doc.
They don't preach it.
That either. Is research is how I found that.
Right. And so these are the types of things that put us on the offensive and not the defensive.
Right.
You know, that we're able to be proactive in our health and not reactive. Because when we're talking about cancer and, you know, aggressive disease processes, you're in a much better standpoint when you're ahead of it and not chasing behind it. And there's some cancers that are much easier to get ahead of, even when you're behind. Lymphoma is one of those. But there's other cancers when you're talking about cancers of the digestive tract or different things like that, pancreatic, things like that. Once you're behind, unfortunately. And we know some prominent people that have been stricken by that lately, like the Honorable John Lewis and Alex Trebek and things like that, both just recently passed from pancreatic cancer. So when you're talking about being proactive, those are the tools and the information that we need to be receiving. One last thing, and I'll let Dr. Fowler jump in. You know, when we're talking about an acidic versus an alkaline state, you know, that's another thing that, you know, I wish, and of course myself and Dr. Fowler work toward making sure that our patients know these things. You know, a lot of these disease processes, dis-ease processes that we're talking about, particularly cancer, like I said before, it's a parasite. It needs the optimal environment in order to survive and thrive. One of which primarily is an acidic environment, right? Our body's natural pH is around 7.4, as Ms. Watson mentioned. If we dip even just slightly below that, it changes the entire environment within our bodies. So then the person, you know, someone may be asking, well, what causes that to happen? Stress, lack of proper rest, lack of exercise, which helps to oxygenate our blood in our bodies, and diet, high caffeine, high red meat, high sugar, high processed and fast foods, you know, high intake of soft drinks, all of which creates an acidic environment within our blood and our tissues, and that gives the cancer the litmus it needs to just go in and have its way. So when we're talking about creating that alkaline environment, well, what can we do? Alkaline water, any type of dark green leafy vegetables like Swiss chard, spinach, kale, collards, all of those are high in alkaline. Watermelon, almonds, avocado, cucumber, beets, anything like that will help to, you know, increase that pH in our blood. And even that alone can help to ward off, the multiplication of the cancer cells that Dr. Fowler talked about earlier, and create a more opportunistic environment for our body to take over the cancer and not the cancer to take over our body.
Right. And let me say this too, the water. That is, oh man, that is most important. We are 70-80% made of water. And if you can't find the alkaline water, as Dr. Williams mentioned before, get water. And I'm not talking about colored water, Kool-Aid and tea and lemonade.
Okay.
I'm talking about straight water with no flavoring, no coloring, none of that. Because if you adding the flavoring and the coloring, again, the body is expending more energy to break that down so that it can get to the water. So instead of adding all that, just give it what it wants, which is the water. Now, let me go back to talk about a little bit about what Ms. Watson has kind of alluded to, which is the residual effect that she is having with her lungs. So think of, we've talked about a blockage in the nervous system, all right, which could come from a misalignment from the spine or somewhere else in the body. And we correct that. We correct that through the adjustment as chiropractors. But the lymphatic system can be blocked too. And that is what happened to Ms. Watson. So again, the lymphatic system, sewage system of the body, think of what happens in your house when you are taking a bath or a shower and there's a clog or a backup in your tub. The water backs up, but it's not just the water. It's all of the dead skin that you have washed off, the dirt and all that. And eventually what happens is there is a ring that forms around the edges of the tub. And or when the water finally recedes into the drain, you have a settlement in the bottom of the tub. Well, that is what happens actually with the lymphatic system. Again, the lymphatic system is carrying and getting rid of the toxins and all of the bad material of the body. And when there's a backup or a blockage, then there's a ring that's forming around the lymphatic system and all the other organs that are associated with it. And when this blockage is finally released, it can, if that ring, let's go back to the tub and the shower. If the ring is left long enough, or if this happens long enough, I don't care how much you scrub, it ain't gonna be as clean as it was before the ring happened. And so that is what's going on with Ms. Watson. They have gotten rid of this out of her body, which is good. I'm glad she found chiropractic and all that, but the residual effect is the ring of crap, which is the scar tissue and all that has been left behind. And so now we're leaning more toward wellness, which she was already doing before this, but even now wellness is the process of choosing to live a healthy and fulfilling life. Well, as Black people, we have to be intentional when we do this, because we have intentionally been left out of proper health care, proper finances, all that stuff, which can help ward off these ailments and stuff. And so, yeah.
What, don't stop, keep going. Listen, it was getting real good right up in there.
Yeah, but and you guys say so much, but see, this is why I'm angry with the whole chiropractic community. It's like, where the heck, like, why didn't we know? Like, I'm so mad because when I think about it, because I found out still about chiropractic care afterwards, because I had placed them in a box like a physical therapist. They deal with accident, they deal with injury, and they make you feel better if your muscles hurt. That's where I placed chiropractic care. But not until afterwards, it's like, wait a minute, blockage, they open up who? What are you talking? What are you talking about? Acupuncture? What are you talking about? And it's like, why don't we know about this side of, for me now, and they're going to probably correct me, for me, this is more of a holistic way of allowing my body in its most majestic way to heal itself. I don't like taking medication. I took chemo and radiation because that's the stage that I was, to be able to have life more abundantly here, right? But I prefer to not have to take medications. I prefer to have these, whatever needs to be open, the channels and everything to be dumping and processing and working as a well-oiled machine is to work in that way. However, we don't hear about chiropractic care a lot and how they can bring wellness to the body. And now, you know, having a friend go to a chiropractor to help her through her breast cancer, and to see like the aftermath of when you do your chemo and you do your treatment, just to see those symptoms lessen or the duration of them lessen because of chiropractic care. I just wish more people know and see chiropractic care instead of accepting a pill and accepting a diagnosis and accepting laziness. And that's another thing, Saints, that we okay, well, give me a sample. Oh, okay, now I have a sample. Now I'm gonna take this pill. Now we have 4 or 5 generations of people in our family that are dealing with, well, not dealing with a condition that can be changed with proper care, diet, exercise, nutrition, meditation, and knowing how the body operates and making sure those channels are clean. So I know the doctor's going to clean what I just said.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You're on the right pathway there, Ms. Watson.
Yeah.
But I do want to, you know, speak to one thing that you mentioned. And you know, fortunately and unfortunately for you, you weren't able to find chiropractic until after you know your treatment and things of that nature. Part of it is, and we're having a frank conversation, so I'm going to be frank in this moment when I say this. Part of it is the quote establishment, we'll just say, has pigeonholed certain professions.
I get it, and he's right.
When it comes to, you know, putting this information out there, truly educating people as to the benefits of these professions, chiropractic being one of them, when it comes to dealing with the human body, and, you know, the treatment, whether it's a co-management or a complementary treatment when it comes to many of these ailments, cancer being one of those. So, you know, that's why it's myself and Dr. Fowler's mission to sing to the mountaintops, or from the mountaintops, of what the benefits of chiropractic is, you know, when it comes to cancer and a lot of these other ailments, because you said it best. You know, God made man in his image. God made us to be self-healing and self-regulating. If we simply get out of the way and allow the body to do what God designed and intended for it to do, the body will regulate and heal itself. I don't care if it's a cold. I don't care if it's the flu. I don't care if it's a cut. If you sit down and don't intervene and don't do anything for it, your body is going to heal itself. You know, Dr. Fowler mentioned it earlier, and a lot of people don't realize this concept. All of us walking on the face of this earth have cancer cells in our body. Does that mean that we have cancer? No, it doesn't. What that does mean, however, is that the body is able to replicate and kill those cancer cells and replace them with new, healthy, functioning cells. Our body is able to replicate itself, right? But what happens is, you know, whether it be, you know, family history in your case, Ms. Watson, whether it be environment or, you know, whatever it might be, our body sometimes loses that ability to do that. And then at that point, we need some form of intervention. But, you know, whereas we fail as a healthcare society is what form that intervention takes, right? You know, and certain powers that be would want that form of intervention to look and be a certain way.
Well, because don't you believe that this is what I feel. This is only me. I just feel that there is no money on this side for them.
Right.
And for me, they're able to push drug and medications. They're able to push up their care, because we know that the money comes from treatment, not prevention. So we're going to take just a little bit so that you guys don't totally kill each other yourselves off. But
Exactly.
we're not going to, and I feel like this even with being not blackballed, but silenced in a way that no, more people do need to understand what chiropractic care would do for their body holistically in absence of disease, in probably preventing a lot of things, but also the other things you have to do is taking care of yourself and eating right. So I'm singing soprano. I'm lead soprano and confident about chiropractic care.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And to your
Right.
point, there is no money in the cure.
Nope.
You know,
Right.
there's
Right.
money in the treatment.
Always. There is
and-
none. Because there's
I'll give,
but
yeah,
there's no money in that.
there you
There's
go.
no money in it.
And I'll
But
give
Dr.
you guys.
Marilyn, go ahead.
I'll
Go
give
ahead,
you guys another personal story. I know we're talking about Ms. Watson and her journey with Hodgkin's lymphoma, but I'll give you a testimony about my mother-in-law. May she rest in peace. She was diagnosed with cancer at stage 4, and it was in her reproductive organs, and it was a carcinosarcoma, basically meaning it was in her lymphatic system and the blood. Okay. It was a very aggressive cancer. Like I said, it was diagnosed at stage 4, and she was literally given months to live at that point, unfortunately. But of course, we rallied the troops together. I worked with her. I put together a regimen with her. I was adjusting her, treating her with chiropractic care. And that few months turned into several years. Okay. And majority of that time, she was asymptomatic from the cancer and from the treatment. But unfortunately, it took its toll at the end. But again, it gave us more years with her and more quality years. Like I said, much of that time she was asymptomatic. And you can say, well, how can that be with a very aggressive cancer and with a very aggressive treatment? She was getting aggressive chemotherapy, aggressive radiation treatment. She was on some very aggressive drugs, and she wowed the doctors. They did not know how she was able to go so long without symptoms from the cancer or the treatment. And, just prior to her passing, when they were, doing CT scans and things like that, like I said, she was diagnosed at stage 4. So she lived stage 4 for, 3 years. They looked at the scans in shock and awe, wondering how she was still walking. So, when you think about, just put all of that in perspective, when we're talking about chiropractic specifically and what kind of effect it can have, not just on the cancer, but the treatment or the effects or the side effects of the treatment. One of those things that chiropractic can do, again, it's just allowing the nervous system and the body to do the things that it is or are naturally designed to do. Ordained to do. And when we're talking about just being sensitive to different things that are going on around us or within us versus being desensitized. When we're talking about being able to identify certain symptoms and things like that, if our bodies have become desensitized, whether it be due to environment, whether it be due to diet and exercise, or just a regimen of drugs that we might be taking, all of those can become, can cause our bodies to become desensitized.
Yep.
Yeah. And then our bodies are not able to identify, or we're not able to identify a lot of what's going on within our body because we've become desensitized. So all of that factors in, but what chiropractic does is it allows our nervous system to regenerate, sanitize, as Dr. Fowler mentioned earlier, so that we can become rejuvenated and sensitized again, so that our bodies can operate that like it should, that those red flags can go up when something is going on, and we can catch a lot of these dis-ease processes a lot sooner.
Yeah, see, God put in us what we need to heal. We just got to get out the way. What chiropractic does, it helps to get out the way. But what I want to also say is that there is a time and place for everything. Dr. Williams talked about his mother-in-law. I can talk about my mother and her journey This is not a time that, but I work with my mom. She's had a form of cancer. I won't go into the whole thing, but she is still here now, not only as a result of the hormonal therapy that they gave her and all that, because we did not do chemo, but also because of what I'm doing to her and still doing to her. And so we talked earlier about these hits that the profession, and Ms. Washington, well, why didn't I hear about y'all, blah, blah, blah. Well, the hits have come from outside and unfortunately from within. Our educational process allows us to be able to talk the way that we do. And a lot of people do not know that. And it is, again, unfortunate. But because we feel that we have been ordained, if you will, to preach to the people, not just our people, but of course, yes, our people, but to anybody that will listen about what we do and how what we do can help in any situation,
I think that what's important and what's coming out of this conversation is not only for us to be advocates for ourselves, but we have to be informed. And it's hard because we live in a system that encourages us to depend on quote unquote doctors who are actually practitioners of medicine. And it just becomes a cycle that my body is not my own. I don't have agency over my body, but I put it in the hands of the doctors. And whatever they say to do, I'll do it. You want me to take medicine? I'll take medicine. But as we continue to avail ourselves to the information, when we come in tune with our bodies and start listening to our bodies and really take ownership of ourselves, because I think that just living in a society, we don't really own ourselves or even feel like we are our own, to an extent. Especially when it comes to medicine and it comes to healing, like we don't even see that we have so much on the inside of us that can heal us in the land that we live on and what God has created for us. All the herbs, everything, the food that we eat, that is our medicine. Let food be our medicine. And until we become our own advocates, we're going to continue a cycle. I'm even thinking about us in this situation with COVID. Stress levels are increasing. We hear people eating comfort foods, macaroni and cheese, sweets, and you see it in the grocery store. I just see baskets full of processed food. I was in the grocery store today and I'm looking at vegan meat, but it's still processed. And I was talking to someone, I was like, I don't eat that much, but I do eat it. I said, I'm gonna have to cut back even on this impossible meat and these vegan burgers because it's still man-made. I understand you're saying it's made out of plants, it's still processed and it's not real food. Right. So I'm just seeing how even in this situation, what's gonna come out of it moving forward when it comes to the healthcare. How many people are going to need more healthcare because of just the pandemic and the unhealthy environments our body is living in, the increased levels of stress due to COVID and the work and all the things that are continuing to go on in the midst of this situation, that I just feel like our healthcare system is already overloaded with just COVID, let alone with other issues that we aren't even going to the doctor to see about because a lot of people are afraid to go to the doctor or don't even have money to go to the doctors. So I think it's very important for underserved communities, disadvantaged people who are underemployed to really take ownership of our health so that we can be there for our families.
Yeah, see, and so one thing that you mentioned was that people go to the doctor and they kind of just give themselves to the doctor, right, whether it be a male or a female. And that is part of, as Dr. Williams mentioned earlier, the dampening or the desensitization of the healthcare process. Again, we have got to come off of the side. We can't be bench warmers when it comes to our health. I mentioned earlier that there's a time and place for everything. Just like Ms. Washington, she could have been going to a chiropractor before her diagnosis even came about. And then all of a sudden this came about. Well, at that point, you don't stop going to your chiropractor. you continue to go to your chiropractor, but you also take heed and you've researched too what the doctors are telling you and the other MDs are giving you. If they're giving you some pills that are supposed to do a certain thing like unclog the lymphatic system, then you take that pill. Because again, there's a time and place for everything. It's just that taking the pills in a lot of cases should not be the first thing that we do, especially knowing that God put in us what we need to heal. We just got to get out the way by doing proper chiropractic care, by proper rest, proper nutrition, and proper exercise.
Yeah, and just to, piggyback off of what Dr. Fowler just said, we're not here saying that, if you do all of these things, you'll never experience disease or you'll never experience sickness.
Right.
But what we are saying is that with these tools, if this ever occurs in your life, you will be prepared.
Right.
And you will have the necessary resources and tools in place in order to adequately fight things like cancer, or any other disease process that may happen. Because if you have the necessary tools and the knowledge and the wherewithal, then you have a greater chance of success. But without this, there's a greater risk of failure. So that's why, Dr. Fowler and myself are so adamant in educating our patients, because we want people to have the necessary tools and resources in order to survive and thrive. Because it's not just about, adding years to life. We can do that with a Band-Aid, or we can do that with a drug or surgery, radiation therapy, but it's about adding life to your years, right? So that's where all of these holistic approaches, chiropractic and things like that come into play.
Yeah, health is a journey. Health it is not a destination. Health is a journey. Doing
Health
any
is
journey.
definitely health is a journey. It's not looking good for the wedding. It's not looking good for a two-piece. It is making an intentional choice so that your years down the road is of quality.
Right.
And when I learned that part there too, it's like, okay, that makes me more responsible. And another thing is adding to it is how I prepare or my body presented also lessen the blows from the chemo and the radiation. So how your health status going into things either is going to make the blows a little bit harder or more difficult, or it's going to allow you to withstand it with minimal effects. It doesn't mean that things won't happen. Things can happen at any given moment, physically or even on a spiritual standpoint, but you have to present your body in the best way that is going to ward off or be able to fight whatever is pushed up against. Pills, secondary condition after cancer, hypothyroidism. And each time I went back, they wanted to increase my dose. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is not the answer. I get that I can't move. I get that this is happening, but there's another answer. And so I did some more research. I brought along a family member who helped me navigate through it. And when I went back, my normals was level, but they still wanted to keep me on the medication to say, just in case if, okay. I took the prescription, but I never filled that prescription because that was not going to allow my body to heal itself. So I'm not telling anybody to follow this advice, because you probably do need to follow it. But I know where I was medically and working on the other side of it in dentistry, and knowing and doing the research. Why is it that more women have it? Seeing an endocrinologist and seeing where I needed to tweak one little small thing, then okay, well let me try it through this way, and everything was normal. But you see the side effects. You can have bleeding of the eye, your liver can shut down, you can have something wrong with your renal system. No, I don't want that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
But I know that
yeah.
I'm responsible for my health first, and I don't put my health in someone else's hands. And I don't say, well, you didn't call me for my cleaner, or you didn't call me for an eye appointment. No, this is my body. I live in it, and it's my responsibility. And more people need to take that on wherever they go. Okay, call and make your appointments, show up for your appointments, and then come to the table with cleaner hands and doing our responsible duty towards ourselves, and not saying that it's the chiropractor, it's the dentist, it's the ophthalmologist, all these other people responsibility. No, it's ours.
That's right. And see, we tell our patients that we are a team. All right. We have things we have to do as doctors because we've been trained to do that. Just like you know your body. We know how to work on your body, but you know your body. As a team, you have things you have to do as a patient. And in order for us to win, and that's you as a patient being in optimal health, we have to be on the same page. So we have to have dialogue. We have to talk. You can't be scared to talk to the doctor, all this kind of stuff. And so all of that is a part of not only wellness, but it's also a part of maintaining wellness. Because it's one thing to be well and have wellness, but you also have to maintain it, which is a part of that journey.
Yeah. And we have to get out of the mentality, which we've been brainwashed to think that, we merely operate within a sick care model or a sick care system. When it comes to chiropractic, which just as it should be for any other healthcare profession, it's not just about displaying symptoms. Oh, well, I only go to the chiropractor when my back is hurting or if I'm having headache. But no, it's just about just like you maintain your vehicle,
right?
Or get your teeth cleaned every 6 months, right? You want to make sure that you're sanitizing your spine as well. So it is about, getting checked up, because a lot of times, just like I said with cancer, more often than not, and this has been researched, this is documented, 80% of your cancers aren't found until their later stage, right? So that means even though, you might have been asymptomatic and that cancer's in your body, you don't know. Most people that have diagnosed with some form of cancer, they might have been dealing with that cancer for as much as 10 to 15 years.
Wow.
When you think about that, you're like, wow, cancer is a process that takes time, right? It takes time. And like I said, research has shown it could be 10 to 15 years as long. So again, it is about that wellness. It's about that proactivity when it comes to your health. And I say proactivity, we got to be active participants when it comes to our health, and we got to stay ahead of that curve.
Get off of the bench, come off of the sidelines, get into the game,
Right.
Be an MVP like Sister Watson of your health.
That's good stuff. So we're about to just kind of wrap it up, and just wanted to get some last words from Miss Watson and from the doctor. So Miss Watson, you want to give us your closing words?
Well, my closing words are for the family. Listen, I want you to be your best advocate. I need you to journal, write before you bite. I want you to be that courageous in making, because here's the thing with even consumerism. People say, well, they didn't teach me how to save, but who taught you how to spend? So we're still responsible and accountable for what we do. There is the freedom of choice, yes, but the consequences, good, bad, and indifferent, you are still responsible for. Do not take this, well, I'm gonna die anyway. Well, who wants to die a brutal death? So I need you to log what you're eating. I need you to log how you're feeling. I want you to go outside and I want you to meditate. I want you to lower your 5 behavioral risks, lowering tobacco and alcohol usage, lowering your BMI, and increasing food intake with your water and alkaline, anything that's going to help produce an alkaline environment. And yes, it's going to be a little tough at the beginning, but just slow progress over time. Just set some goals and follow through with that. And then when you go to the doctor, do your research and understand what's going on and why, and have questions. Stop accepting that, okay, I'm okay with just taking a pill. Don't get comfortable with taking a pill, because for me, long term, what I'm looking at, What are the effects on my body overall? What is it doing to my kidneys? What is it doing to my liver? Well, I know that my kidneys help regulate my blood pressure. So I know all these things that are tied in that you have to take ownership. You may not know the renal system and all these, the names of the system, but however, you're responsible for the food that you're eating. So I would say my parting words are, you must shift your narrative for a good quality of life. Start off by eating right, exercising, and seeking the care also from chiropractors.
That's right.
Thank you for that, Ms. Watson. And you know, your testimony is a very inspiring one to see, you know, not just, you know, what you went through that journey, but to see the aftermath, to see the byproduct of, you know, your research, your journey to healing, your journey to wellness. So again, we thank you for sharing that with us. And of course, we are always here. If you need us, you know, of course, you know, we got your back.
Yes.
And we got your extremities, and we got everything in between.
We will lay hands.
Thanks, guys.
But also, like I said, I just want to thank you again, Ms. Simmons, for the platform.
Yes.
We hope that you and the audience were able to glean some knowledge from it, because knowledge is power. And like I always like to say, as my mom taught me at a young age, as we know better, we do better.
We do better.
So it is about obtaining that knowledge. Again, Dr. Fowler and myself, we thank you. We are Aligned for Life. We're located here in the Atlanta metro area. We are here for all of those listening this evening or watching this evening, and even someone that you might know that might benefit from what it is that we do here. You can reach us at www.yourfinespine.com. You can follow us or reach out to us on social media at Aligned for Life on all the social media platforms. You can call us by phone at 404-889-6489. And again, we just thank you for the opportunity, and I will allow Dr. Fowler to say a few words at this time.
Yeah, just again, we definitely appreciate the opportunity, Ms. Simmons, Ms. Watson. We appreciate you allowing us to step into a little bit of your space to add to and help educate our people, all people, about the life, basically, because that's what we've been talking about, life. You know, our ancestors have said a lot. They said a lot of things. You know, one of the things they have said is, if diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. So in other words, it doesn't matter how much pills you take, all that. If you don't have the right diet, it will not work. The medicine will not work. But that proverb goes on to say, if diet is correct, then medicine is of no need. So in other words, the food should be your first medicine. And the last thing I will leave everybody with, and that is, if you want to be fine, take care of your spine. We got you.
Ha! Soprano.
I love it. Like, that's it. All right. So thank you all for joining us for tonight's colloquy. We talked about the lymphatic system and cancer with Towauna Fisher, as well as Drs. Brandon Williams and Drs. Joseph Fowler with Aligned for Life. We learned so much today. Share this information with your family and friends, and we look forward to seeing you the next time. Doctors, what's our next conversation going to be about? Do you all know what that is?
Yes. I know it's January the 5th. And hold on one second. Let me pull it up. Because I had it.
It's January 5th. We're talking about stroke and the circulatory and respiratory.
Yes, that's it.
January 5th in the new year, 2021.
Yes.
Between that time, I want you all to tune in for Baba Mwangi, Eric Kwesi. He will be here with his book, and that will be December 22nd at 6:30, which is another Tuesday in 7 days. So tune in with us for that.
Baba.
Yeah. So we're gonna be. So you have to share that information out with your family and friends. The name of his book is First Addition, Then Subtraction. He has a lot of good information on eating healthy and really just taking small incremental steps. And at the end of the day, it's all about intentionality. All right, so let's be intentional with our health and let's have a good night.